This is a newspaper. You see them everywhere. You trust them. Why? It's kind of a blind trust, right? What makes you know that a paper, this paper, can be trusted?
You know, when you are looking at a print publication, you can immediately tell, because they have a masthead, they have a list of, who owns this publication? Where is it published? Who are the people writing the stories? Who are the people editing the stories? You know a lot about that publication just from their masthead.
But that's all visual. It's an aesthetic. So what does it mean in a world where anything can be created, recreated, and manipulated? The answer is nothing. It means nothing. And we've seen why.
Fake news meant exactly that. Deliberately false stories posing as news, especially in non-traditional news sources like digital media.
For the longest time, we've seen fake news come and go. We've seen yellow journalism and tabloid infotainment.
When you walk into a grocery store and you walk up to the checkout line, you see some publications probably next to you. You see the typography of their crazy headlines, the Brad does this, Angelina does that. You know instantly when you look at those publications that they're gossipy tabloid publications.
But it wasn't until recently that fake news became dangerous. And we're not talking about The Onion, Weird Al, or SNL.
Stefan.
We're talking about truly fake and damaging stories built around lies.
I don't like them putting chemicals in the water that turn the friggin' frogs gay.
It wasn't until 2016 that we saw just how dangerous fake news can be.
You are fake news.
Sir.
Because for the first time, it was directed at us.
Fake news is a concern for the health of our democracy. And, obviously what reporting is and what news is, keeping people accountable, keeping the truth out there. And when words like that are thrown around, people can be so easy to believe it. But you really just got to focus on, the truth and finding what that is and keeping the facts straight.
So what tipped us off? What made fake news publicly dangerous? And how does it still exist if these questions have answers? We wanted to find out. But before we get too far, we should probably introduce ourselves. There's 3 of us, all interested and scared by the recent developments in the world of fake news. There's Caleb, there's Spencer, and then there's me, Riley. We were interested in fake news, more importantly, how easy it seemed to become a part of it. Is it possible that it's that easy to create an online fake news network? It was easy, really easy. There are operations across the globe, effectively changing the tide in public elections or altering the social lives of users on an incomprehensible scale. And we were doing it from a small production stage in Vermont.
So should I get my notebook?
All we needed to start was a laptop and a well-designed Twitter account. We called ourselves the Daily Atlantic Herald.
We have a follower?
Yeah.
Who? I don't know. It's not loading.
There were some obvious barriers to entry. For us, it was mainly money.
Oh god.
Wow.
Whoa. So these could be pretty expensive, so...
We'll try someone else.
We didn't have much, but with enough money, there would have been very little separating our numbers from that of CNN or Fox News. At the first search, we found a number of possible options, all accessed with the search term Twitter followers by.
Social envy, Twitter on fire.
Eventually, for $35, we were promised 5,000 active followers, with the specification that they were active users, not bots. Initially, our follower count stayed the same, with only 2 accounts choosing to follow our news source, one of which claimed to help its followers become policemen, offering tweets such as, "Your mind is your greatest weapon. Your body is just the holster you carry it in." Things seemed a bit off.
What does that even mean?
It wasn't until later that day that our account started to grow. Then things got weird. A majority of our followers were Russian. Our follower count fluctuated drastically from 2,300 to 800, and none of our followers would actually tweet. If they did, it was just in Russian. But we had the numbers. We had the credibility of an online news source, and all it took was one day and $35. We hadn't even sent a single tweet yet, but we had the platform to do so. Why was this so easy? Why is this so accessible? Much like many of life's greatest mysteries, the answer can be found in Macedonia.
According to Hillary Clinton, this tiny nation has destroyed America's democratic tradition.
Though not exclusive to the country, Macedonia has become a focus point in the exploration of fake news.
There's all these stories about, guys over in Macedonia who are running these fake news sites.
It comes largely from poor economic structure, making the production of fake news very profitable, each click translating to about $1 American. At the same time the internet has been churning out false facts, it's also been turning the business of news companies upside down.
The way that the newspapers and other media organizations, the way that their businesses have been disrupted, it means that they've laid off journalists and not just reporters, but editors and copy editors and fact checkers. So there are fewer people doing this work, which is part of the problem.
It suddenly became a lot harder to detect fact from fiction. And that's crazy, right? We thought so. But despite it all, it still seemed too easy. The question remained, why?
13 Russian nationals and 3 Russian companies accused of a massive effort to meddle in the election, and not just from afar, but they say the Russians were right here in the U.S. too.
Coming from the expansive investigation into potential election involvement, were headlines left and right about Russian troll factories, as they were called.
The defendants allegedly conducted what they called information warfare against the United States, with the stated goal of spreading distrust towards the candidates and the political system in general.
But just like everyone else, a lot of the information went right over our heads.
Did you get any of that?
Think of it this way. Fake news is written and propagated across the globe in developing countries like Macedonia, supported by the bots purchased and directed by Russian nationals. So, we'll ask again. Why is this so easy? It's simple. It's not illegal.
There's no law that prevents you from creating a Twitter account, because then we're getting into amendment rights, right? And freedom of speech.
What does that mean for all of us? Fake articles and posts appear on timelines, seemingly real, next to other posts that are, in fact, legitimate.
We tend to believe the people we are connected with. Social media is designed, these platforms are designed specifically to build trust and take a trusted person and extend their network.
So, as long as this remained miraculously legal, it seemed only reasonable that we could take our already popular news network and start populating it with our own dramatic headlines. It proved to be a lot harder than it seemed.
Spaghetti sandwich.
That's your first story idea?
Yeah. Like a meatball sub, but with noodles.
Car crash, mid-air.
A car crash in the sky?
Yeah.
Who's in the car crash?
Coney. 729, 730.
Someone come up with a fake disease name. Just syllables.
Tripantsless omyactus.
Say that one more time.
Tripantsless omyactus.
Tripantless.
What about trypintomyactus?
Our story, that the consumption of tuna brought on the spread of a disease called trypintomyactus, was easy. The hard part, now, was to get people to believe the story. And at first, it was slow. But then our tweets got noticed. We saw our numbers climb in the tens of thousands, and an increase in follower count beyond the amount we ordered. Our story had been sent to over 16,000 Twitter timelines.
I mean, I think it's a journalist's responsibility in there every single day to, obviously get the facts right, tell the truth, get the story. But for a reader, if you're on a website and there's 15 different articles, what is the right article? If you're reading an article on The Onion and you come back and tell me, well, I read this, we know that's obviously satirical and we know that's not right. It's the reader responsibility to understand that and read that.
It was surprising, exciting, and scary. We were effectively joining the very system that has been attacking the truth. It was easy, and that was the worst part. We had to destroy it.
It occurred to me I have no idea how to delete a Twitter. I don't know how to do that.
If everything was just as fragile as we had come to find, what good are we doing by exploiting it?
We've been talking about false news, that reports that you see that are not true. The fact that these are out there and proliferating is not just a bad thing for all of us in journalism. It's also an opportunity, because what's happening right now is that engaged and smart media consumers, people who love journalism, people who read and subscribe to newspapers and podcasts and give money to public radio, all of those people are becoming more and more aware of how fragile this ecosystem is and how fragile journalism is and how they need to support it.
After all, what good is the news? What good is journalism if we can't trust it?